is a journey. It is what it is. You know, you can't just jump from the lower step to the higher step. You gotta go through the staircase.
Yes. We don't want you to skip stages because every stage is for a reason.
Absolutely.
Things that we should have done and things that we shouldn't have done.
I think the should not have done is
outweighs the things we should have done.
It's wins and it's losses, but it is necessary because what happens is people jump stages.
Like I always say too, if you're 35 and older, you don't have
time for oopses. I'll just keep taking one step at a time, moving forward. The person that does something to somebody, they easily forget.
And with every action, there's a reaction.
Oh, absolutely. Let's chill. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you are in.
Yes.
Goeiedag. Sani Bonani. Listen, I'm gonna get this right. These languages are gonna flow.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to reach many people of different cultures and different
I
languages.
feel you.
It's not like it's a hello thing.
I feel you. What's good?
It's a namaste thing. Namaste.
I feel you. Go ahead. That's what we're about. Yes.
Yes. So welcome to our segment where we want to discuss how to live a life without regrets.
OMG. Like una manga.
Like this is so important because many of us walk around with so much regret.
So much.
Many of us walk around with the emotion of, oh, I should have, I could have, I must. It's never, I'm glad I did that. You know, we're too fearful to take risk. We are too fearful to go for the plunge. We are too fearful to jump.
Living in doubt.
We live in doubt. We are too fearful to not live in doubt, but to actually just say, let me go for it and see. Because people say, but what if I fail? And I say, what if you win? I look at the things that we've done respectively, like independently as well, and even as a team, that many people will think, but why did you even do that? You know, it wasn't going to make it. And we say, but what if we didn't do it? We wouldn't have known that it was not going to make it. And what if, and I'm thinking whatever experiences that we've tried out or things that we've done, they are a stepping stone to where we are going.
Yes.
You know, I believe that the journey of life is a journey. It is what it is. You know, you can't just jump from the lower step to the higher step. You gotta go through the staircase.
Yes, it's a process.
You know? And every step has its
challenges,
lessons. Yes, it's wins and its losses, but it is necessary because what happens is people jump stages. People jump the steps.
Yes, and what happens is if you jump stage when you're not ready for it, you're gonna mess it up anyway.
Oh yeah, it's gonna flip you back down.
Yeah, and it's gonna be worse because and that's the thing. This is why we don't want you to skip stages because every stage is for a reason.
Absolutely.
It's a learning experience, and it's definitely for a reason. So you don't want to skip steps. I know it might be hard. I know
sometimes we just want that microwave.
It might be challenging. Yes, you want that instant gratification.
Yeah.
You want everything right away. That popcorn.
But also sometimes we've been through like the grind for far too long, and we feel like it has to happen. It must happen, and that's why many people take a shortcut after toiling for years. Do you blame them?
Yeah.
Taking a shortcut after. I'm like.
And they sell their soul.
Shortcuts. You know, it could be anything. You sell your soul, you take a bribe or you give a bribe, whatever the case is, but you're not trusting the process. But my question is trusting the process worth it, as painful as it is? And I think with this segment, we're gonna just touch on issues where you're gonna realize, you know what, it might be painful to trust the process, but it's actually worth the doing, because it will avoid you to live in regrets.
Yes.
Because if you do take a shortcut, there's consequences.
There's consequences.
There's a consequence for every action that we do.
Every action.
You know?
Yeah, and with every action, there's a reaction.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that we all, if not most of us, live in moments we have moments in our lives where we wish we could do over. You know, child, you wouldn't be 40 something and not have regrets.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, there's buckets full. They overflowing. But dwelling
things
on
that we should have done and things that we shouldn't have done.
I think the should not have done is
outweighs the things we should have done.
But both are equally important, right?
Yes.
Because they both make you think, you know, if I did not, I still have so many regrets right now that I question myself at this age to say, maybe I should not have dropped out of that second master's degree. Maybe the life that I'm living right now would be completely different if I completed that route. But then one thing that I'm noticing is that when we dwell in certain failures or in certain regrets, it then becomes this
a trickle down effect.
Absolutely. Because now you start beating yourself up and you fail to move forward, and then you're missing out on so much of life because now you feel like if I had finished my second master's, maybe I would be working in high court or whatever. But I guess that was not your journey.
And wasn't God's plan.
It wasn't God's plan, because if it was, I always think that God will always reroute you back to where you were supposed to be.
Yes.
What we're going through right now is what we're supposed to be going through.
Yes.
And there's this famous quote on social media that says, you are where you're supposed to be. It might not look rosy and inspiring, but it surely is preparing you for the next step.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
So that's why we really want to discuss this, and we'll be sharing practical tips for overcoming fear, developing a growth mindset, because that's so important in this journey of life, and just surrounding ourselves with people with a positive influence around us. Good vibration, high vibration. I'm not talking about the food, but I'm talking about people vibrating positively in order for us to become better people. Why are you trying to look at my notes? So whether you're looking to reflect on your past regrets or taking action to create a life with minimal regrets, because there will be regrets along the way, but we're just trying to minimize them.
Yes.
Okay, so this discussion is definitely.
But like I always say too, if you're 35 and older, you don't have
time for oopses.
You don't have time for oopses.
There could be one or two there.
But not too many. You can't have the oops like you was doing like you was 20 and 25. You can't have those same oops when you're 35 and older.
Right. So if any of the above, you know, you think, that I relate. So this podcast is for you.
Yes.
So join us as we explore how to prioritize our values, embrace our failures as learning opportunities, because they are learning opportunities.
Yes.
It's not a failure, it's a learning opportunity. And then also how to cultivate self-compassion, because we get so hard on ourselves and we forget to be empathetic towards us before we are even empathetic towards others.
Yes.
So forgiveness is one of those, right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about how to actually get to that level where you say, Siza, you dropped out of college, you know, well, not completely, but second master's. It's okay. It's okay.
Life live on.
You didn't kill anybody, right? You're not Thabo Bester. South Africans will get this joke. It's a South African joke. You're not Thabo Bester, right? Who has tons of regrets. You didn't kill anybody. Life goes on.
Life goes on.
Right?
Okay.
So now just keep taking one step at a time, moving forward. Right? So let's start living a life without regrets together.
Yes.
Right? Tell us how we can do this. Live a life without regrets in this podcast session.
Well, one, you want to define regret and its impact on our lives. So that's important too. We have to determine, understand, characterize
what regret is.
Put it in categories. Categorize.
Okay.
You know, just different synonyms of defining regrets and its impact, because regardless of you living in regrets and not living in regrets, it still impacts you in a certain way.
That's true.
And a lot of times we are still living in regrets from past, from things that we when we was growing up, and so we want to define on regrets. What makes you regretful?
Yeah. So let me
what
just
hurts you?
a definition. This is my definition.
Yeah,
Okay?
definition.
You can check Google. You can check your dictionary. But this is what I think regret is. So regret is a negative emotion, right? That arises from feeling that one has made a mistake, like we were mentioning some examples earlier, or you've missed an opportunity.
Yes.
Whew, I just feel something as I'm saying that.
Yeah, because a lot of us, we believe that we miss. A lot of us feel like, I missed opportunity. Oh man.
How could you be in America and not be doing this or doing that? I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I probably missed some opportunities along the way. Or my path in America was not what you think it should be. But
That's
it is
good.
what
Say that
it
again.
is.
Don't skip over that
You know?
one. Don't skip over that one. Say that
Because
again.
sometimes we look at other people's lives through other people's lenses.
Yes.
Okay, I'm wearing these glasses. This prescription is made specifically for me. Nobody else can wear this prescription.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm trying to give you my prescription and say you have to wear you won't be able to see where you're going.
No.
So let's move away. Oh, that was powerful. Let's move away from trying to
take off somebody else's sunglasses.
That's it.
That's not for you.
Or looking through somebody else's lenses. You know, because probably people make a comparison like, oh, but Trevor Noah came to America and made it. That was his path.
That was his path.
What's her name? Mbedu. She came to America and that's her path. I came to America and I believe I've made it in my own right too. You know, because I'm not sleeping under the bridge. You know, I got some income. You know, I might not be where I wanted to be at this stage,
yes.
But I'm actually just encouraging people who are listening to this to say
you're still in the journey and you're still going.
We are in a journey. The only time the journey is when you die.
When you quit.
No, when you die, because you can quit and
get back.
You know, Les Brown says this beautifully that if you fall, but try to fall on your back, because if you can still look up, you can get up. You know, because quitting, I think, is also kind of part of life. You sometimes we quit for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, or some people quit for a month, a year, 3 years, and they think, let me get up and go. You know, I know a lady in ministry which she just shared, we were with her over the weekend, and she said she had not even had a GED, right? And now she's studying towards a master's degree in her 40s. She had to start all over, and she was determined to be someone when she nearly died due to bad decisions. So when she got out of that ICU, she realized, like, listen, it's either I take this life by its horns and just push through and make myself somebody, or I'll end up in the morgue before my time. So I think this podcast is to remind people that if you're still alive, if there's still breath in your lungs,
you haven't missed any opportunity.
Listen, there's still an opportunity out there.
Yes.
There's still an opportunity
still
out
an opportunity, And so, you know, we gotta know when we define it and what impact, we had to understand, because it could be a powerful motivator for change. When we're able to define what makes us regretful,
because you're able to identify, right?
So it's a great, and you're able to understand how it impacted us, how we feel when we feel regretful. You know, man, because that way, you know, like, you know what, I don't like to feel that way. And so when you feel a certain way, you don't want to go back there. So when you're like, oh, you know what, that feeling right there is not good. So, you know, it's a great motivator for change. But it can also hold us back for living our best lives.
Or just living life.
Yeah.
Because when you live in regrets, you now attract this negative vibration and negative people and negative circumstances. And just negativity start becoming your lifestyle. There's this quote that's by an unknown author, which I really love. It says, the saddest summary of life. Let that not go over your head. So I'm going to repeat it again. The saddest summary of life contains 3 descriptions: could have, might have, and should have. I could have done that.
Everybody should have it.
But that's the saddest summary. That's the saddest reality of life. We should really try and avoid these could have, must have, and must, because you can have.
You can have.
How about I say, instead of saying could have, and say I have.
You know what? I'm just came to me. These things like that when people feel that it's a cop out. It's a cop out because you like.
That's somebody saying, "I'm trying to sit on the chair."
Yeah.
So that you're sitting on the chair.
It's like a cop out.
Your ASS is ain't on a chair. Okay, so you can't be like, "I'm trying." You sit or stand.
Because a lot of times it's like a cop out or making an excuse why we shouldn't and why we couldn't and all this kind of stuff, because maybe for certain reason. And this is why we said we gotta define ourselves, because also. When we in regrets and when we able to define our regrets and how
it means to you.
What it means to, it also helps our mental health and well-being. So when we able to define what is regrets as well as and how it impacts us, it helps our mental health. It helps our well-being. Why? Because we're not gonna allow, because we define it, we understand it, so we know what stresses out, so that our mental state will still be strong and we won't cry over spilled milk.
But also it just helps us to move forward, because there's tons of people out there who still live in the past. Oh, my uncle raped me. Okay, we get that and we sympathize with you.
Yes.
We really do. But your uncle is long dead. Or probably your uncle has moved on with his life. But you can't move on with life because you're still caught up in that. My advice to you is go for therapy.
Yes,
find help. Get your mental state in order, and start living. And we're gonna talk about forgiveness as well, because that's part of it. That you gotta forgive yourself. Have grace on yourself. That it was not your fault that you were raped,
no,
or molested, or because this is a sad. And we think we should have an episode on this, on the gender-based violence that's mainly on women.
Okay.
I once was part of this. Healing your inner child segment, and 19, probably it was only one person.
Wow, she was part of a segment that somebody done? Because that's like a event that I wanted to heal in the inner child.
I was part of a workshop, an online workshop.
Oh, and that's I wanted to do an event.
So, as I think there were about 10, 15 women, and I promise you, one, if not two, of the 15 that were gathered had not been molested in their lifetime. Which means the 90% or the 80% had gone through some form of physical molestation in their lifetime, and most as a child. The girl child is in danger. More with the boy child as well, but more so the girl child. And these things really harm us in the fact that what was done to you as a child, we look at your R. Kellys of this world. They are messed up humans or grown ups or adults because something had happened in their childhood that made them not let go and dwell on these feelings, because that's why we're talking about that. Don't let your past regrets avoid you or stop you from moving forward. Because now, I was molested. Yes, it's painful. We know.
We understand.
Some of us have been there. But we choose to move on because it's not worth it to dwell on the past, things that you cannot change. And one of my most prayers is, Lord, grant me the ability to be able to not dwell on the past, the ability to not dwell on things that I cannot change, but the ability to be able to just to move forward regardless. So we really want to focus on some practical tips right now on how we can move forward without these regrets. Anything on your mind?
Definitely self-reflection. Like you said, reflecting on what happened.
Yeah.
Acknowledging what happened.
Because sometimes it's denial.
And that's the thing too. A lot of times we have this naive and we in denial. Like, and it happened. No, it did happen.
So we acknowledge that.
And then like then realize this, but especially if something happened to you when you was a child. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah. I was the victim.
I was the victim. I don't know how.
But then I don't want to stay in victim mode.
Oh yes. But
we want to be victorious.
But we acknowledge it first so that we can heal ourselves.
Absolutely.
So that we can get deliverance, because we reflect it and we understand it wasn't my fault. Because when you can realize and you can say, you know what, this wasn't my fault.
So what if it is your fault? I'm not talking about molestation and stuff like that. But what if you did something that ended up made you end up in prison or stuff like that? How do you then forgive yourself from having done something so bad? When you kill someone, for example, like how do you move past that?
One, again, self-reflection, understanding what happened.
Taking responsibility.
That's a big word, key word. Taking ownership, what happened. Reflecting, like, okay, you know what? And then once you reflect, once you take responsibility, then first you ask for forgiveness. I'm sorry. You apologize to yourself. And then if you have to, when you can, you apologize to the individual.
The one that you harm.
Yeah, the one that or even if they harm you. That's even bigger though. Man, when you apologize
to yourself,
and then apologize to the person that did something to you, that's even bigger. Like, cause they're like, why you apologize? What?
But you know what I've learned over time as well is that the person that does something to somebody, they easily forget.
Yes. They easily forget.
And there was a thing that we used to say as a child is that umenziwa akakhohlwa, but umenzi uyakhohlwa, which basically means that the doer, the one who did the deed, forgets easily. But the one that was done to them, they will never forget.
And going back, I want to say when you can forgive that, and just like I'm bringing scripture right now, when Jacob was, his brothers, threw him in the pit, all that kind of stuff. And when he came and became a governor, and his brothers had to come back to him. It
was hard though.
It was hard. But Jacob was the bigger person. Said, you know what? Don't even worry about it. It wasn't your fault. I forgive you.
It was part of God's plan.
Yeah, it was
part of God. I had to be in the pit.
I had
in order for me to be governor today.
Yes, and so even I know it's tough. It's rough. Like, man, why there had to be? You're like,
why me?
You don't understand. Why me? Why? You don't understand. You don't understand. But at the end of the day, I love this because another scripture that even Jesus said this when they questioned, why this boy was born like this.
Yeah.
And Jesus told him it wasn't his mother's fault.
Or the child's fault.
It was so that God would get the glory at the end of the day. So the thing that you're going through, even if you've been molested, even if you've been raped, even if you've been whatever sickness came upon you, you've been abused and you had been in a bad relationship, you've been in whatever, especially if it wasn't your fault. It's so that God would get the glory, because God knew that you can handle. One thing is, God say he don't put more on you than what you can bear. So he knew that you can bear.
He weighs it before.
He weighs it before. Yeah, before you. Thank you. He weighed before he distributed, right?
Yeah.
And it's because he knew you're gonna be the bearer. He knew eventually you're gonna come out of it. You're gonna shake it off, and that's what I want to tell you. If you're going through and you need to reflect on past, you gotta begin to shake it off. That's this.
And I want to flip that on the other side. What I said is, what if I done wrong? What if it wasn't done on me, but I did on someone? I want to say to you, realize that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's okay to make mistakes.
Mistakes will happen.
Yes.
But one thing we should learn, well, a couple of things we should learn from that is that we must forgive ourselves.
Yes.
Learn from them. I think that's the first point. Learn from those mistakes, forgive ourselves, and keep moving.
Yes. And then another thing to to reflect on past and how to move forward. One thing, another scripture as well, but you got to learn to focus on the present and the future, not the past. And Paul saying, I'm forgetting those things which are behind me. I'm not thinking about, I'm not dwelling on the things that happened to me or the things that I have done that was not right. That I've done. I made a mistake. It's okay. You know what? I made a mistake. I own it. I take the responsibility. Whatever happened to me, I take the responsibility. I deserved it. You know, if I did something wrong and things happen, I deserved it. So I take that responsibility. But I'm not gonna dwell on what I've done because that's the past.
Right.
I'm a bigger person
now. That's
now.
why it's important to forgive yourself.
Yes.
As well as forgive those who have done wrong to
yes.
you.
Before
we move forward,
and then I press forward, and I press forward, and I position myself by focus on the now, the present, and then as well as preparing for the future.
Right. So before we move forward, we wanna also just remind you, if you have not subscribed to our channel, to please do so. Press that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Also share the video because it helps other people to learn from what we discuss, and also for our channel to be discovered through the algorithmic world, and which means that more people get to see it. And also whatever that we write, we discussing that if you have an aha moment or you want to share something that happened to you that could be something that you have been finding it hard to forgive yourself, or maybe you're just living in regret, share with us on the comment section.
Yes.
And we're hoping that someone who will read it, even ourselves, because we love reading your comments, will help in making sure that, you know, we are able to come up with strategies to help you get sorted. So subscribe.
Yes.
But not only on our YouTube channel, but also on our audio platforms. We do have, if you don't want to see us, you can just hear us, and we are available on all audio platforms. So do also follow us there, and also rate us 5 stars.
5 stars.
Nothing less.
Yes. And leave a review.
Yes.
We love those feedbacks.
Yes,
we love those feedbacks. This is how we get better. Yes.
And then our next point is we're learning how to prioritize and make choices that align with our values. That's important in order to avoid what we are calling living a fearful life, living a life filled with regret, right? So how do we do that? How do we prioritize and make choices that align with our values?
Using it as a guide to prioritize our life.
Right.
That's one, to be able to make better decisions. But I will have to say this, because in order to prioritize our life, you know, I'm glad that the other key word is values, because a lot of times, you know, we don't even know our values. We don't even know what we believe in. We don't have a slight idea, like, you know, what is our values? What do I believe in? You know, because a lot of times we in this social media age, this
trying to be
information
like
age,
well.
we in the information age, and we take on other people's values, and we try to be like everybody else.
Somebody once said, if you don't try to pursue your dream, you'll find out that you'll soon enough be pursuing other people's dreams.
So, you know, and you're right, and it's because we in this, and so we're looking at other people, and that like blinded us on what our values are. So it's very important that we learn to prioritize what is our values. You know, so that we can make better decisions. Because y'all remember, if you are trying to adapt other people's values, and then you're trying to do what they've done.
They're not even in line with God's plan for your life.
Yeah,
they're not your values.
They're not your values. And then another thing too, you know, their values or how they did a particular thing might not work for you, because they did it in a certain way. They did it according to their ability, and they did it with their strength, their mind, their all this. So, you know, so that's why you can't look at other people's values and try to, you know. Let me say something. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to get it out, because You know what? Because it's very important that we don't look at other people's values. But I get it. Sometimes we have to,
be inspired.
Be inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that So I don't want to put confuse the two. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by somebody else's values, but you can't take on their values because they're you gotta learn how cause like me, I aspire I learned some values through looking at Master P. I like the Master P. What I liked about Master, I love that he was a business person. He was business savvy. So through looking at Master P, that what gave me the ambition or the urge to get into business. I know I liked how he did things. I like he did because I'm like, yo, this guy came into he sold CDs out of his car.
Look at where he is now.
Yeah, look at where he is now. But he started out with $10,000, and he started out with $10,000 that his grandmother gave him, and
that was a good start.
Yeah, of course. And he built the record store, the company, and then he started his own label where he owned majority of his label, his master, majority, 85% of it, and then he was selling his CDs out of the trunk of his car. So he went like platinum, double 10 times platinum, out of the trunk of his car.
So be inspired by other people's successes,
especially if you don't have values in the beginning, but eventually you find inspiration, but you can't use that as a crutch because now you got to learn, you got to form your own values.
Right.
You got to begin to you got to begin to adapt
Let it
your
be
own
a
values.
blueprint, but not something that you cannot put your own twist.
Put your own sauce into it. Put your own sauce.
So I want to close off this point by saying, think of yourself as well. Instead of letting other people's opinions influence you too much.
Yeah.
Because in order for us to prioritize our choices and be in line with our values, we got to move away from thinking we have something that's called abantu bazothini syndrome. What will people say syndrome? Where you're doing something, I wonder what people will say. That has really destroyed us.
The FOMO.
The fear of missing out. But yes. But this thing of what will people say, you stop yourself from doing things that you like, from living life to the fullest, because you're like, oh, but I'm Christian. What if I'm seen in a concert and people think what will
do?
You don't know what people are doing behind the closed doors. We're not encouraging that people live like wild, crazy lives. But I never seen in the Bible where it says if you listen to an R&B music or something, then you go to hell. This is all religious, mambo jumbo that's made people live miserable Christian lives because people are now locked up in their homes and doing things behind their closed doors. And then going publicly and telling people, oh, you should not be doing that. But you do it behind your closed doors. Don't tell me that there's a difference between watching Netflix in your own TV than going to the movies. Because there are people who believe that going to the movies is a sin. You heard me? You're going to watch a regular family-based movie on the big screen. Some people regard as sinful. But that very same movie, or worse, which you're not even supposed to be watching because it's above your age range, you watch it freely at your home. What difference does it make? Small screen, big screen? Same sin, if you regard it as a sin. So my point is, don't allow other people's values or opinions about their lives and how they want to lead their lives affect you. And this is how I live my life. I'm not telling you something that's when I married my husband, he was also the movie guy that thought movies are sinful, wearing pants is sinful, like all these sort of things. And when I started opening up his eyes to say, listen, but that's all religious. Show me in the Bible where it says that. Because we gotta live by the word of God and not by people's words or doctrines. Because there's so many doctrines out there that make us so fearful and scared to live life as God has anticipated for us to live. He says in his word that we have come to live life in abundance. which means in its fullness on earth. We're not waiting to go to heaven to fulfill this full, purposeful life. It starts here. This is our heaven on earth.
Yes.
And it becomes hell on earth because we start allowing people to get in our heads and we start being fearful of so many things that we can actually explore.
Yes. So we say to use your priority as a guide. Use your right as a guide for decision making.
Yeah.
To guide you to make better decisions. So use it as a guide. You know, it don't have to be the be all. What is the saying? Is be all thing.
Yeah.
You know, but
master of all.
But use it as a guide for decision making.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this video, catch part 2 of this video, living a life without regrets. Practical tips. I mean, Lady Siza and I really enjoyed this episode that we went a little over. So we decided to do a 2-part video. So catch living a life without regrets, practical tips, which will be linked so that you can click on part 2 of this video. Again, this podcast is sponsored by the Next Opportunity Window, a great community of like-minded individuals coming together, learning, growing, where everyone can boost and maximize their life in a short space of time. We get your 14-day trial alpha to test it out and to try it out. So we say thank you. Join again to the community. We're looking forward to it. And we'll see you on the next video. The link is right there. Take care. Bye-bye.